glad y'all are technically savvy.
Good morning, good afternoon, good midday, everybody. It's Bradley McCalister, Alex Snodgrass, and Zac Higgins from Spiracraft's second anniversary celebration coming at you. We're over here working on the technological end of things, and I think we're popping through. I see Mr. Miller's there. Let us know if anything's, it's all good on our end. We're in a Zoom meeting, which we're then streaming out to all of you out there. And of course, the computers are over there, so I kind of have to walk back and forth a little bit. But I got a couple of clicks, and then I'm going to be able to see what you're seeing. So, awesome, woohoo, you're here. It's a great day. We're going to have a lot of fun. Let me get over here on one of these many computers and get this live stream showing on a monitor so I can see what you guys are seeing, because I know it's here somewhere. I only got 37 things going on, but it's fun. It makes it exciting. There it is. There, so I kind of have to walk back and forth a little bit, but I got a couple of clicks, and then I'm going to be able to see what you're seeing. So I'm going to mute that one. All right. If I talk to myself once in a while, please don't be upset. Good deal. I think we're set. And I can see everybody's post down here in front of me, and I can see the Facebook feed. I don't see the YouTube feed, but Zac is monitoring the YouTube feed. So everything I think is working well. There's Mr. Alex. We're going to be here for about 2 hours today. It's just a little afternoon right now. I'm going to go till 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, I'm going to announce all the giveaways. I've got some of the tools and the prizes right here with me, and a couple of them aren't here. I closed it out just a little while ago, and on this sheet of paper, I have everybody's name who gets to win the lucky prizes. Also, if you come into this, or if you're just coming in and you haven't registered yet for our anniversary celebration, you can still register. You can just go to spiracraft.com, click on events, anniversary celebration. There's a form pops up in there. It shows you all the stuff. The discount codes to save in the Spiracraft store are there. I'm not going to audibly give out the codes today. You do have to register to get the codes. It's one of those deals. But there is 10% off everything in the store and 15% off a broad selection, mostly in the Chromacraft world. I can actually tell you, I have to read my notes here. 15% off of Chromacraft products, the wind's blowing, colorants, casting resins, CA glues, shop supplies, sanitizer, keyring kits, turning jackets, drill bits, finishes. Those are all 15% off. 10% off on everything in the store, and that goes on through Sunday. So even if you didn't win a prize, and even if you haven't registered yet, you're not out of the game. You can go ahead and jump in, register. You'll get the discount codes, and all through the holiday weekend, you can go ahead and save in the store. So we're all set up. Biggest announcement in the Spiracraft store. And the last 2 days, if you haven't been in there, especially this morning, I turned on 50 Sorby items. All the Sorby products that I had out on the road, Sorby tools, Sorby gouges, the sharpening system, the calipers, step drives, chuck jaws. We carry about 50 Sorby products, and I put all those in the store this morning. They went live in the store about 6:30, and all the Sorby products are in there at 10% off as well. So if you haven't been in there a day or two, there's a whole lot of Sorby in there. Now, it might be a little disorganized at the moment, but hey, it was early when I got on it to finish it up this morning. So our plan here is to start off with Alex, who's going to demonstrate working with the bandsaws. Alex Snodgrass is the acknowledged bandsaw master. There is no question about that. Alex has been at it, I'm going to say, about 30 years, and he can correct me. It's a plus or minus somewhere in there, and he's with Carter Products, and he's going to show us the circle cutting jig and the log mill, I believe it is. Is that right, Alex? The log mill?
The log mill and the miter mill.
Okay.
All three are excellent for any turners out there.
Good deal. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it over to Alex, and I'm going to pin his video up to the screen there. Okay. So I'll make sure that his stays up on top. And That should be what you see all the time with just the rest of us in the background. And I will monitor from here. Alex, take it away. And thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. And what I'm going to do is I'll move the camera over here a little closer so that y'all can see more of the bandsaw and accessories than just me. And we're going to start out. All I did was I cut a piece of mulberry out of the backyard. My wife and I cut it about years ago. And I'm just going to use a piece of that to demonstrate these accessories, which are pretty darn handy to wood turners. I am not a wood turner, so I try, but that's about the best I can offer. I'm going to turn my dust collector on so that I don't have to breathe this stuff. Now, this is the log that I just grabbed. It's probably about 8 to 10 inches in diameter. And again, I'll move this over more to the other side so you can see this a little bit better. But you can see, cut the end off with a chainsaw, but this end, I can grab it with the log mill, but why not get it flat? Because when you put it on the lathe, probably not going to use it at that angle anyhow. So again, we'll just move this over a little bit. How's that look, Bradley?
That looks good. That's a good shot.
All right, now, first thing that you want to use is a miter mill. Now, a miter mill is basically designed in a V, and it has all these serrated edges so that it holds the log in place. This will hold up to about a 14-inch diameter log. At least that's what I've been able to get out of it. What we'll do, and this, I will be honest with you, normally has a miter gauge underneath of it. Matter of fact, it comes with one, but sometimes I just prefer to put it up there on the table so that I can just follow any line that I really want to. So take that log, drop it in there, and just look underneath and make sure that that log is a good 1/2 or 3/4 of an inch away. That way, if it were to slip, it doesn't touch the table, and if it does, it's going to roll. So perhaps a better shot would be this side so that y'all can see this actually cut. Now, as usual, I'm using a 3/8 inch greenwood blade. I know this is a 24-inch saw and it will handle much larger. I prefer the 3/8 inch. It's a perfect combo blade. It will resaw the full 15 inches capability and turn a circle down to 2 inches. So you really don't have much limitation here. So we'll just line that up, and all I'm going to do is just clean up that edge. And this is, again, a safe way to do this. Now, we've got a nice flat end here, a nice flat end here, easy to mount into your leg if you were going to mount something that large. But now I want to split it in half so that we can get a bowl blank out of the side. So for that, I would then use the log mill. Now, the log mill really can't live without that miter gauge. You want to adjust it. It has several different holes on there. You want to adjust it so that the edge, that the cutting edge, is as close to this blade as possible. That way you don't get pullover. If basically gives you good leverage. We'll just back this up. Stop that blade completely. Now, I apologize. I thought I had that loose. We'll just adjust this, and it is adjustable up to 24 inches of cut capacity as is. I have run an extension on it, gotten a little bit more, or you can put a screw in the side instead of using the stop to give you a little bit more length as well. So you just simply tighten that right into place. You can see that that pawl kind of angles to whatever you have there. We'll make sure it's good and snug. Then I'm going to line this up so that I cut that log where my pit is right with my line. Same thing, the pit is right with the line of the blade. Go up just a little bit higher here. Get that out of the way. It really kind of holds itself because, again, you want to keep that edge as close to that blade as possible. It just makes it a lot easier to handle on that good. I'm going to catch this piece. You can see I basically split that right down that pit, being able to line up both the front and the back. Set that piece off to the side. Sorry for the noise. Next, we're going to want our circle cutter. Now, yes, you can mark this, cut it out, get those lumps. The nice thing about a circle cutter is it not only gives you a nice, perfect round blank, but you also have a center mark, and it will give you less waste that you have to trim off before you start really doing your turning. I know some of you like to do a lot of natural edge stuff, so I'm not talking about that. Now, we'll just, all I'm going to do, just put a small hole in here. That way, I can set that right onto our pivot point. Now, the circle cutter has a sliding magnetic lock so that once it clicks into place, you know you're ready to make your circle. Now, the way that you adjust this and line it up is you always want to make sure that the pivot point is always in line with the tip of the tube. Remember, tip to tip should give you a perfect circle every time. So it also comes with table clamps that clamp it right to any table. I've drilled holes in mine because I don't like to have to mess with it a lot. If I want to use it, I just simply drop it in. I know it's lined up. I don't have to worry about it moving. Now, you can measure over to get the exact size circle, and it even has tape embedded in the circle cutter itself. Sometimes it's a lot easier just adjust it, and you can see this would be way too short. The way that we adjust this, there are 2 Allen screws right here. Simply move that in, plug that back up. You know it's right on that side, all the way around. So the way that this works is we're going to move this in until we feel those 2 magnets click together and then make our rotation. Now, something you may want to keep in mind is have a support here. This does come with an L support. I tend to travel a lot and I've broken 1 or 2. So I've made just a simple support that I use, and it's just the exact same thickness. That way, I can simply slide this right up in place. And now that piece is supported all the way around. Now, trying to think what is going to give us our best angle. So I'm going to come right here. Back that up just a bit. Bring that head down just a touch. You can feel those 2 magnets put together. Can't go any further. Now, be real careful when you're backing this out. You can see a piece of bark has collapsed. So if I were to try to pull that out before I stopped it, well, then it would pull that blade off. But as you can see, back that up. Voila, 1 perfect bowl blank. And again, you have your center mark, so it's easy to load on the below. Bradley?
Yes, sir.
I hope that that was pretty explanatory.
That was fantastic. Are you kidding?
There's such a word.
That was exactly what we were looking for.
Well, good. Good.
We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
That really did the trick. I mean, for us wood turners, that really helped, explain how you can take that good old raw log out there and then make it into something that you can work with.
Absolutely.
Without a lot of work.
You know what? That's as far as I go in wood turning. I'm going to let you pros handle the rest.
Well, Alex, thank you very much. We do appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. You're going out to Mark Adams pretty soon. You got to get ready to go out to Mark Adams and do all that good stuff.
And I am just so thrilled. One place on planet Earth that I love to go, and I get to go twice a year. So
you're a lucky man.
Yes, absolutely. Bradley, thank you for having me. Zach?
My pleasure.
Thanks, Alex.
My pleasure completely. So let me unpin you guys. I'm going to walk over here to the computer a little bit. So don't mind my back. Thank you, Alex.
Guys. Have a good one.
All righty. Thank you, buddy.
Bye, Alex.
All right. And I'm going to pin Zach up here.
Oh.
Zac Higgins. If you don't know Zach is the master of casting. He's the Duncan Junk man. Anytime I've got a question, I think anytime anybody has a question who knows who they need to go ask Zac. We should make that, I can make that a phrase, go ask Zac. Zac, how long have you been doing resin casting, Zac?
Oh, I think I got into it about 9 years ago, and then just kind of kept learning as I went. And I think I've been running the business selling blanks for probably about 6 or 7.
Gotcha.
So, a few years.
I mean, that's a long time.
Yeah. Well, that seems like a long time today, but there are some people that have been doing it for 20, 30 years. So
well,
I'm still learning as I go too.
Well, we're all still learning. When we stop learning, something is wrong.
That's true.
But Zac and I met at the Portland AAW a number of years ago. What was it, 3 or 4 years ago already? I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'm not sure what year it was. But yeah.
Zac's been here with Spiracraft every year from the grand opening and our first anniversary, and now our second anniversary, going into our 3rd year. We meet up at SWAT or wherever else we can. So Zac's a really great guy, and I really appreciate you coming out and turning for us today, Zac. So you're doing a bottle stopper, is that correct?
That's correct. A couple of weeks ago on the live stream, we were playing with spin gems. It's kind of a faux stone material that from Chromacraft, and Bradley sent me some out, and I wanted to play with it, and I've been kind of still doing a little bit of experimentation, and I just did a little extra pour. Basically, I had some extra material left over, and I just made a small bottle stopper blank with it. So let me try and get my camera in here a little bit. Actually, I think I can switch it around. So I'm gonna bring the camera around back.
Okay.
Over here real quick,
now,
so I can kind of get in.
I'm gonna confess, you guys, while Zac's getting ready, I was working on a piece the other day.
Yes.
And I think I'm going to be doing a little resin turning too. This is nice. An extra piece of resin from Monday Methods that has a bunch of stuff down inside. Now it looks really brown right now, but it's got spin gems in the bottom and it's got iridescent film in it. So I'm going to turn this a little bit when I get started doing some turning, just to see what happens when I cut down through this surface. I may not spend a long time on it, but I'm just giving you a heads up. That's what I'm going to be prepping while Zac is going there. So nice. We'll get plenty of resin turning in today. Go ahead, Zac.
Awesome.
I didn't step on you there, buddy.
No problem. I had to get my camera set up. So I think this is kind of a good shot. I can't really zoom in, but so I've got this set up in the lathe in my chuck, and I'm going to show you guys what I used. I forgot to grab this before I started. I'm going to show you what I used for my mold for this, because I think it's kind of interesting. And a lot of people, sometimes we get kind of caught up with all the fancy molds out there. This is all I used. It's a little Dixie cup, plastic one. And the beauty of it is, if you see on the bottom there, it actually has a dovetail. It's like they were meant for bottle stopper blanks. There's a little dovetail, so I didn't even have to mess around. I just pop this in the chuck and it's ready to go. So first step on this, I'm gonna, let's see, you can kind of see the drill chuck. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna drill out a hole with my 5/16 bit. This is a little stubby bit that you can get from the companies that sell the, you don't carry any kits, do you, Bradley?
I do have stubbies. They're in these keyring kit.
Okay, nice, yeah.
Yeah,
so
I've got all the mandrels and the stubbies. We've got all the goodies for that.
Perfect. Okay. So I kind of like using these. It just, we're only drilling a small hole in the first place, but if you got a long, drill bit hanging out, it can kind of wobble a little bit. So these stubbies work a little bit better. I find I like them, especially for these bottle stoppers. And I've actually marked on here how deep I need to go. Let me pull out the little kit that I've got. A little bottle stopper. I get these from Stainless Bottle Stoppers. And so if you look here, you can see how much I need to drill. What I want to do is this thing is going to need to go in there. I'm also going to use this. I'm going to flip it around and use a mandrel system to turn it. So I'm drilling the hole, and I'm actually going to just tap threads straight into the blank. Another way you can go, and I just didn't want to do that this time, you can drill out, I think it's a 1/2-inch hole, and then epoxy in these little spacer things or inserts. And these work pretty good. A lot of people really like using these. I tend to just I just like to drill and tap threads into the blank. Usually it seems to work fine for most things. I would say for soft, especially softer woods and certain materials, the inserts are really the best way to go. They won't, otherwise you run into the problem of the threads stripping out basically. But I haven't really found in resin blanks for the most part that that's too much of a problem. So first thing, like I said, we're going to drill it, and then I have a little tap here that I'm just going to load into my my chuck. And I don't necessarily do it the way that you're supposed to. Typically, I just kind of stick it into the actual chuck itself. There's other ways to tap things, but it works fine just loading it up. So I'm actually going to put the camera on the other side of the lathe here.
Zach, you sound like me. You don't do it the way you're supposed to. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I do. Usually I don't. A lot of times I have to kind of do things quick, you know. So I don't really. Hold on real quick. I'm gonna lower my tripod here, so I apologize for the shaky cam. Anybody that watches my live streams knows that I'm constantly moving these things around and we get shaky cam all the time. So if you're getting seasick, I apologize. It'll be over soon. No Dramamine needed. Okay, there we go. Now we got a good one. Good view of the action, I think. All right, so I get my glasses on. I'm just going to spin this around 300, maybe 500 RPMs. And get my face mask out of the way. I gotta move my camera a little bit. My lathe has the controller box on it. It's going to run into the phone. I'm just going to get this a little bit closer. And like I said, I have a Sharpie mark on this drill bit that's the depth that I need to go. Oh, and actually I forgot one step, guys. I totally forgot. This is way too early for me. I'm usually not getting to the shop until now. Before Zach, you start, you're barely up this time of day.
I know. I'm usually eating breakfast right now. First things first, I almost forgot. What you want to do is put a flat. You want to get a flat area so that it'll mount correctly and perpendicular to your both the mandrel and as well as the actual kit. So first things first, we're going to put a Forstner bit in here. This is the simple way to do this. Simple and fast. Now bring this up, lock it in, and we're just gonna, we don't have to go deep or anything like that. You just need to square this up. That's the word I was trying to come up with. Just get a nice flat on there so that it's square to the line of the lathe, of the chuck and everything. So just a quick little bite right there. And then we'll switch over to our stubby. And we'll do our drilling. Make sure that I've gotten that as deep as I want. No, not yet. Okay. Then I'm going to switch this out. Let's see. Let me make sure that you guys can barely see the chuck. So I'm going to scoot that back just a little bit. And I've got the threads that these things take, both the mandrel as well as the little kits. It's the same thread. It's 3/8/16. So I've got a 3/8/16 bottoming tap. I'm just going to put it in there. And I'm actually going to move the camera just a little bit so you can kind of get a look at what I'm doing here. It's kind of a little bit of an action that you take. Let's see if I can get that. It's tough. I can't see. Hopefully this will work. So I'm going to leave my tailstock. I'm not going to clamp it down. What I'm doing is I'm putting a little bit of hand pressure on my tailstock. I'm going to bring this camera actually over here. There, this ought to be a little bit better. I'll get just a little bit of action showing what I'm doing here. So I'm actually pushing the tailstock in, and I'm using the hand wheel to rotate the blank. All right. I'm going to bring the camera in so you can kind of see the threads being put in there. Like I said, a lot of times, and one thing, the spin gems I think are going to take threads fine, but this would probably have been a decent time to use those inserts. I just didn't, like I said, I didn't really want to hassle with it. Oh, make sure that your chuck's tight. I'm going to back it out a little bit. So I go in a little ways, back it out just to make sure. And then we go right back in. And so you're kind of doing, you know, 3 or 4 in, couple back. That just kind of makes sure that you're not clogging up those threads. And I don't need any, you know, lubrication or anything on this. It doesn't really need it. The only time I would say that that might be useful is if you were going for something that was really clear and you can see in. So I'm going to hold that, and now we're going to back it all the way out. It just may give you a little bit nicer looking thread in the end if you use lubrication, but in this case, we're not going to be able to see in this thing anyway. All right, so we got our threads tapped, and let's see here. Let's just double check and make sure that our kit fits. It's always a good thing.
Now, Zach, do you ever have any trouble with in resin, the threads not holding?
No, as long as you're using an epoxy or a urethane like a Lumelite, they work great. Polyester is a little bit brittle, and so those are not really, it can be difficult in that sometimes. And again, in that material, if it's like something that's a brittle material, or, you know, the only cause for concern I have with this is there's a lot of stuff in with the resin, and it is actually a polyester, you know, the spin gems are a polyester based thing, but the Alumilite should hold everything together just fine on this one, I think. But, you know, softwoods or brittle things that don't take threads very well, probably not the best idea. At that point, you know, it's much better to glue in an insert. Gotcha. But we got everything. It's fitting perfect here. So I'm going to back this out, and just wanted to make sure that when we get this all finished, that this is going to look good. You want to make sure on that before you start turning. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is pull out. Do you have a stopper mandrel?
Yeah.
Okay. Probably like this one. Let's see. Where is it?
I have the turn down two stopper mandrels.
Yeah.
With the bushings. I also have the live center.
Perfect.
So we've got all those goodies. They're all in the key ring, the hand sanitizer key ring kit area.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because they kind of go with that right now.
So you carry the,
yep.
Is it like this one, and it's got the little bushing on it, so you know?
Uh-huh.
All right, perfect. So
well, we have the newer universal, and then
yeah,
you can add the bushing. Correct.
Oh, I'm not on camera. Yep. So this is the universal one, and it has these little bushings, and that's kind of like, if for anybody that's a pen turner, it's the same idea. That gives you a visual guide, you know, how thick you want it, so that when you're turning this down, the blank will meet the diameter of your little you know, stopper bottom. You can nail that perfect without having to pull out calipers and do all that kind of rigmarole. So we'll just get this thing loaded up here. Like I said, same threads as the actual stoppers themselves, so everything's simple. And there's different bushings also. I just want to kind of make sure there's, you know, you want to make sure that you're using the right bushing for whatever kit piece that you're turning. Okay, so my live center. I'm going to switch the camera back around again. I know, back and forth. Get this maybe right around in there. Okay. We'll pop this guy out of the chuck, flip it around, and let's do a little bit of turning.
You'll notice today that both Zach and I are turning on Easy Wood chucks, which we do have in the store. We use them all the time. We now have Easy Wood and the Sorby chucks, but I've been using the Easy Wood chuck since it came out.
I love that. All right, and then I got the same problem with my controller panel. It's nice having the controls over there, but the little pad gets in the way when I'm trying to bring the tailstock in. All right, so I'm going to bring up tailstock support. It just always, you don't get that kind of vibration and everything like that. And the one issue I'd say with setting it up this way is you would, a lot of times you would think that this wide part that would be the top, but it's actually going to be kind of in reverse on this one. And like I said, it's just a convenience factor. I don't have to mess around with mounting this in the chuck, or getting it between centers and putting a dovetail on, because it's already got a built-in dovetail with that little cup. So I just, you'll waste a little bit more resin on the top there, but I think for convenience sake, it's worth it's worth the loss of a couple inches of resin, not even a couple inches. All right, so we got our tool rest in place. We got everything going. I'm going to put my face mask on just in case, just to be safe. Get this thing spinning. Bring up our tailstock there, lock it in. And I'm going to be using, let me turn off everything. I'm going to be using the Easy Wood Tools negative rake scrapers. One thing that I'm kind of playing with is I've actually marked this with Sharpie just to kind of give me a visual cue where I can see, you know, what parts I've used on the cutter. I was actually talking to Chris about this over at Easy Wood Tools, and he said that marking the bottom might be a better way to go, because especially if you're turning certain things that have, like, you know, moisture in them, or I don't know, just the shavings can wipe off the top if you're going to do this. So just a little bit of a tip. Sometimes after, you know, a few months of using this thing, you notice that one edge is, or one area, especially on the round ones, is kind of dull. So you want to turn it, but then you're turning it, and when you tighten the screw up, it can turn on you, and you don't really know where you're at. So I just thought that having a visual cue might help me to understand exactly where it needs to be situated when I go to turn it. All right, so we're ready to rock here. Fact, I'm going to bring the camera, actually, I'm going to bring it back on this side, because I just realized you guys are just looking at the back of the blank there. I usually have my other camera system set up for live streaming, and so I'm kind of a little bit trying to figure out good shots with the phone. Okay, now you guys should be able to see. Is it bright enough? Get a little bit of light on there. Might help a little bit. All right, here we go. And so what I'm trying to do here, for anybody that hasn't turned a stopper before, is on this side, bring the camera over here. On this side, that little bushing is what I want to turn down to. So I'm actually going to bring this in a little ways and bring it down to the same diameter as this little bushing here. So got a little bit of ways to go on that end, and then I'll just kind of make a little bit of a kind of a handle at the top, just so it's kind of easy to pull out when you're using this as a bottle stopper. Make it nice and comfy, and then we'll be good to go. These negative rake cutters really make resin turning a joy. You know, when I first got started, I was using gouges at first, and they were okay, but you know, you'd get a catch, and it would be it would just chip it out. And then I started using especially I kind of focused carbides on materials that were super abrasive or hard. And same thing, you know, they would just, if you got a catch, it scared you, number one. It usually wasn't that big of a deal, but sometimes it would kind of jack your blank up. You know? It may kind of ruin the project, especially if it happened at an inopportune time. And at this point, they've come out with these negative rake scrapers. And I mean, you really can't, you know, you can just hog into this stuff and it's not going to catch.
Yeah, I mean, I started turning resin about 2 years ago now, and I started with the negative rake cutters from Easy Wood, and it made it just so easy, as they would say, you know, the overused phrase, but it was. I mean, it made this resin turning. And I was like, okay, this is. I didn't have to worry about the chips and the chatter and all that. I could just go make my crazy pieces and do weird, wild shapes that I like to do.
Yeah. And they have, you know, with all the detailers, they got all the different little things. I mean, frankly, you can get through pretty much any turning, just about from start to finish, with just a round cutter. You know, really, it'll pretty much handle most things that you want to, you know, turn. My biggest problem, the thing, I was at the point where I was, for smaller projects, pens and things, I was proficient enough that I just really didn't get those kind of catches and all that stuff. But when it came to larger turnings, that was not the case. I would get catches, and it just, you know, part of it was probably because I wasn't getting the tool, I wasn't approaching it correctly, or something would happen and I'd get a catch. But the real big problem for me was hollowing. Anytime I was hollowing anything resin, I mean, I would literally just tighten up, you know, and just wait for catch after catch. And when they came out with these negative rake scrapers, I was like, okay, game on now. And at this point, it turned something that I really did not enjoy at all. I could not stand hollowing anything. It went from that to now I just have a blast standing there. You can just get lost in hollowing and you don't have to worry. So I'm a huge fan, because it really did change things. You know, it was a game changer for me. What I always say. You know, I'm gonna let the material speak to me today, and I've never done this kind of shape before, so we're gonna kind of roll with this. That's the thing I love about turning. Some days you don't even need to really have a game plan in mind. You just chuck something up and see what ends up happening. I think I'll do a little bit of a cove. Get that out of the way. So I'm going to bring you guys around to the front here, kind of show you what's happening here. So got this down. I think I've got that actually just about perfect. It should kind of match up. I got a little bit of a spacer. You can see there's space in here. There's a little washer, but I think that I've gotten that down where I want it. Should match up pretty nicely. And so now I'm just going to kind of bring this shape around, give it a little bit of a cove here, and then we'll kind of finish off. And I think we'll finish up by, I'll show you a little bit of hollowing on this. This is something that one day I was just messing around with the #1 hollower and it was a bottle stopper. And I just started I wanted to just barely dish out the top. And I just literally kept going. I was having such a blast with it. And it actually makes for some pretty cool looking bottle stoppers. and you kind of hollow out the middle. Should have waxed my tool rest, a little sticky. Trying to kind of take some of these tool marks out here. Smooth this out. The smoother your surface, the less sanding you'll have to do. But I won't say that I'm ever particularly amazing at leaving a perfect finish.
So Zach, Bonnie's asking what color spin gems? You said cinnamon brown, isn't that correct?
Cinnamon brown is what this one is, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I haven't, they all look good. I haven't seen any spin gems that I'm like, oh, that's terrible. The next one that I got a jar that I think it's called Gold Mine or Gold Rush, something like that.
Gold Mine.
Gold Mine, yeah, I'm gonna play with that a little bit.
Yeah, I like Gold Mine a lot.
All right, so that's feeling pretty good, and I really like this shape. It's just it's funky. It's not the traditional, what you think of usually. Come on, focus. There we go. It's kind of weird. I don't know, but it'll be pretty fun. So I'm going to put the camera on this side now. I'm going to back the tool or the tailstock out here. Now we can get the camera in unobstructed. Try and get that in there pretty tight. And I'm going to pull out what I used to just so remember I was talking about, Chris mentioned the stuff if you're going to mark the cutter, the top, it gets kind of taken off real quick, and it's already all the way around gotten taken off from the shavings. So I'm going to take his advice right now. I'm just going to put a tick mark on the bottom here. That'll just at least give me an idea of where I started. All right, so we're gonna pull out my favorite tool. I used to laugh at Carl because he would turn the biggest pieces of resin with the smallest cutter, and I could never really. It always seemed like, oh, a bigger cutter would be better.
It's our favorite.
This thing is the best for anything. Obviously, it's good at hollowing, but it actually is better to use a smaller cutter. It's very smooth. My biggest problem was on wide sweeps.
Gotta have your number one hollower.
Yeah, it seemed like it would leave a lot of bumps if you didn't have a nice smooth action, and that's absolutely not the case. This thing leaves a smooth finish, and it works great for things big and small. So this quickly I figured out why Carl loved it, and this has become my favorite tool as well, especially when you're doing larger pieces. It is really kind of the way to go. Let's see if I can get this thing centered here. There we go. And this is where, I'm telling you, this is where the fun happens, is just you can get lost in hollowing and you don't have to worry about those darn catches that we all hate. It literally, it wasn't even fun. It was like I had to hollow before these negative rate cutters came out. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. This cutter might be a little bit kind of used up. Probably should have put a new one on, but another thing that would happen to me that would cause catches is I would, if you're already, rigid, like white knuckling the tool because you're waiting for a catch, you have more tendency to roll it because you're holding onto the handle so hard. And so even if you did that, which is not necessary with these, but even if you did roll it a little bit, it doesn't matter. It's not going to catch. You can come in sideways on these things, and it doesn't grab it, catch it, or chip it out. And that is, I've been kind of experimenting with kind of using a skew angle, because it actually, for people that are very used to using your traditional, or like your gouges with the high-speed steel, you hold it differently generally than a carbide, and that allows you to actually put this thing on your hip and use your body to move around a little bit more of that kind of high-speed steel gouge feel. So you can just have a field day with this stuff, doing a little bit of hauling. Now, like I said, this cutter is kind of on its last leg. So I'm going to try and see if I can switch it around a little bit and get me a little bit of a better edge. Just going to rotate it real quick, see what happens. That's a little bit better. Makes a lot of noise, but sure is fun. A little bit of work on the rim here. I'm pretty happy with this little dishing that I've done. Just going to make sure that the rim isn't sharp. People are going to be putting their hands on this. So you want to make that edge feel inviting to the touch, not sharp and sharp and painful. Oh yeah, that's nice. All right, so there we have it. I mean, it's as simple as that. Quick little bottle stopper. And we've done a little bit of hollowing. That's something a little bit different than you'd normally find. How are we doing on time, Bradley? You still there, Bradley? Hello.
Yeah, I had my mic off because I'm over here getting a head start on this.
Oh, nice. How am I doing on time?
You're doing fine. It's just now 1 o'clock.
And how much time do I have? Maybe that might be a better question.
You have another half an hour.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure.
Oh yeah, you're all good.
It depended on how much sanding I was actually going to do on this.
I'm just, like I said, I'm just getting a little head start on this. I want to see what's going to be in here, and I turned my mic off so that the noise wouldn't kick it over.
Yeah, no problem.
Get in on you.
Perfect. Okay, so let's do a little bit of sanding on this guy. I'm just going to start with, let's see if we can get, basically the way I do sanding, I've done pretty well, but there's definitely still some tool marks that I can kind of feel here and there. And so I'm going to start with 240. The higher you can start, the better off you are with sanding resin. It takes quite a bit of time, to sand resin. It's a little bit, I would say, typically a little longer than what you're looking at with just a piece of wood. But with this one, I'm going to start with 240. And if it seems like it's taken forever to get any tool marks out, then the best thing to do is just drop down. Try 180. You want to get a grit that's going to actually do the work for you, without you having to, feel like you have to, really push down hard. You want to let the sandpaper do the work. So there's nothing wrong with dropping down a grit if, the one that you started with isn't really working or doing the job. So I'm going to get a new piece. This is another thing, is I don't recommend you be stingy with your sandpaper. If it starts to feel kind of clogged up or it's not really cutting, then go get a new piece. Don't hold on to sandpaper. It's really just not worth it. All right, so a little bit of 240 grit here. What I'm looking at here is, how hard is this to get the sanding scratches out, or the tool marks out, I should say. I'm gonna get you guys kind of right here. You can kind of see those bands. That's a tool mark. That's a little bit of a low spot where it's kind of shinier. And so I got the lathe going about 500. And I'm not pushing hard. You don't want to push hard. You just want to let the grit do the job. Now, one thing that I definitely find is curvy surfaces are a little bit harder to sand, to get, you know, down in there. So just, again, give it the time it needs and you'll be good to go. If you have a lathe that can reverse direction, a lot of times that's very helpful to get in, you know, sometimes it's easier to get get it from the top basically than the bottom. So this 240 is working pretty good. Get the scratches out, but you really want to make sure that you start out with a nice flat surface. You don't want a bunch of ridges and tool marks left in there because they'll show through at the end. They're not going anywhere, and it's going to take you a lot longer as you go up through the grits to get those out. I'm actually going to drop down to 180, and this will be a good kind of, still have some persistent scratches in there or tool marks. So let's drop down to 180 real quick and just see if we can kind of get those out a little bit quicker. That's definitely doing a much faster job. So don't feel bad if you know, dropping down 1 grit, 2 grits, whatever. It's gonna probably, you know, a lot of people think that it's gonna take them longer because they have more grits to go through. And the truth is, it's probably gonna go faster if you can get down to a grit that's actually doing the right work on that first level, and you'll get better results in the end, making sure that you've gotten it flattened out. I can't really see the chat, so I don't know if anybody's asking any questions or anything. Try to at least look at the YouTube, which I think all the chats are coming in on the YouTube
all the chats
feed.
are coming in over here, Zach, and mostly it's just been where you use a negative rake, and the answer is yes.
Perfect. So yeah, at the end, if anybody has any questions, I can take a peek at the chats.
That's the beauty of my my third-party chat platform. I can see both YouTube and Facebook all at the same time.
Ah, nice. Yeah, I saw it was pulling them in.
It just takes more computers.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so I think I've just about gotten. Now I don't love this little bump that I got here. I didn't realize I didn't round that over. I'm going to try and do a little bit of extra work with. I can pull a tool out also, kind of round that over quickly, but I think this 180 will just do the job for me here. Okay, I think that's pretty good on the outside. Now we got to get the inside rim here. I think I'm actually going to switch to the regular mode. A little bit easier on the insides. All right, I think that's pretty good. So now I'm going to go back up to 240. First, I'm going to wipe this off. Real good. Now the game is to remove the previous grit scratches. So give each grit its time, and at this point, I would usually wet sand. So actually, Let me actually do that. I think wet sanding will go a little bit better. That just makes sure that you don't clog anything up and, you know, do all that. Because if you heat is kind of your enemy with resins and sanding. I would actually say even with wood, you know, you really don't want to overheat the material because it just doesn't like it. But with plastics, what can end up happening is you can kind of burnish in scratches and they just never go away unless you actually take another cut or get a low enough grit to remove that burnished in scratch. And so having a little bit of lubricant on there definitely makes things go a little bit faster for you and with less headaches at the end. Just gotta find myself some 220 here somewhere. One of these guys must be for 220 or not. Here's one. All right, so this is just silicon carbide. You can use that Abernet as well for wet sanding. I've been kind of playing, I'm experimenting. I'm just kind of playing around. Just using a lot of people kind of think of it as like automotive sandpaper.
Yeah, Zach, a lot of times out here for Monday Methods, because I'm always running late. I'm 2 hours and change. I'll just oftentimes shoot a coat of lacquer on it real quick just to get it to shine up so we can see what it looks like and then go back to the sanding later.
No, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. And actually I'll do a different, we'll do something else for kind of a quick one. To take something from, you know, tool to fully polished, you know, you're going to have to go through a number of grits.
It's a long
and what
time.
I've found, yeah, it takes, it's a good amount of time. An easy way to kind of speed the process a little bit is like you said, you can hit it with some lacquer. But in this case, for something kind of small, especially, I think what I'm going to do, if I'm making a pen that I'm going to put a CA finish on, I generally just sand up to about 400 and then put the CA on. So let's put a CA finish on this guy. You still have to kind of finish the finish. You know, even if you're doing lacquer, it's very difficult to just get a perfect smooth finish right out of the spray can, you know. So a lot of times you'll still have to kind of finish up that sanding afterwards, but you can get a good look at, you know, it's good enough if once you just put the coats of CA on to see what you're looking at.
Now, Zach, do you use the real small, the CI6 R2NR, the little square radius cutter on your finish cuts a lot?
CI6, which one is, no, is that a square?
Yeah, it's the micro. It's the NR for the micro tools.
No, I don't have that one. I do sometimes take a kind of a finish pass with the CI2 R2. So that's the, what size is that? The mini rougher.
Okay, so
handle.
You're using the minis. It's just one step up in size.
Yeah.
That really seems to make a difference if you have a nice, at least for me, if I have a really nice fresh one that I don't use much, that I get that nice finish cut and cuts down my sanding a whole lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. If you can, you know, and whichever tool you're using, really, if you can get a good, nice finish cut, especially, you know, in the pen turning world, a lot of the people that are like really good with a skew and can just get it, you know, I mean, these people are generally like, they make pens for a living type thing.
Gotcha.
But if you can get that final cut perfect, I mean, you can start sanding at like 1,000 grit, you know, as long as that surface is smooth. I don't generally fall into that camp.
You or me both.
I don't turn for a living, so it's kind of like, whatever. I'll do a little bit of sanding. I try to get it as perfect as I can off the tool and then move on. So we got a little bit of 400 grit here. And again, the thing is, if you're in a hurry, which, and I suffer from this. So don't feel like I'm telling other people like, oh, you got to do it like I do. Cause I'm in a hurry a lot of times too, especially if I'm trying to, make a video and get stuff done. I will get myself into trouble trying to speed through the process of sanding. And so it's a time thing, give it the amount of time it needs and you'll get great results in the end. If you try and speed through anything, typically you're going to be not particularly happy with the results. And then you got to do it all over again, which, this is kind of the lesson. If you try to speed through it, you're probably going to have to redo it. So, you may as well just chill out a little bit and give it the time that it takes. And I got to follow my own advice too. Cause like I said, I'm always trying to hurry up too. We all are. All right. So we got it up to 400 grit. And I've seen people say, oh my God, you're using rubber gloves on a lathe. Yeah. Even if something did get caught, it's just going to rip the nitrile glove off. So this is not I don't particularly find that to be a dangerous thing. I would never wear, cloth, cotton, leather. I don't do that. But with these things, it's really not gonna, not much can happen, I don't think. But always be careful and use your own discretion. All right, so we got everything good to go here up to 400. I'm just gonna blow this off. Make sure we got all the water, moisture out of everywhere. Wipe this off one more time, really quickly here. And so for CA finishes, I kind of like this Mercury Thin Flex. And a lot of people say, well, what's the best? And really, it kind of comes down to how you put it on. I've tried quite a few, and for the most part, they all work fine. This one, I like the viscosity and the working time. That's kind of basically the reason I like this one. It just works for me the best. It seems to be fairly clear in the end. It seems some of them can be a little less clear looking. So that's the only reason I use it. A lot of times you got to kind of try a few and see which way you like. So I just put a little dab on my paper towel here, just kind of work it in. And the key to CA finishes really is you just need to try and get it on as smooth as possible. And again, going back to why I use this, I can get it on the smoothest. If you have a bunch of ridges that you're leaving every coat, let's say, that you put on, then you're kind of hosed, because you're basically just going to sand all that off. You have to sand it dead flat to get a good looking surface. So if you can't get it on smooth, then you're just going to be wasting CA. But I mean, at this point, I put one coat on, and I mean, frankly, you could walk away right here. It's looking pretty darn good. I'm going to take my phone out of this little tripod thing, try and kind of get some shots close up here.
You're like me, Zach. You need a cameraman.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, I would typically put on probably about 4 coats or so. And then I would polish that out as well, which, again, depending on time, I mean, I can kind of put some more coats on and try and kind of work on this. But it's looking pretty darn good, I think. And that the spin gems, man, those things really do look like, rock.
They do.
Stone. It is a really, really good faux stone material. So, yeah. So it's up to you. Do you want me to do a little bit more on this guy?
I mean, if you're good with that, that's probably good.
Yeah, I mean, for demo purposes, I mean, you're getting kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great, and you're ready to thread it onto your stopper, right?
Yeah.
Here,
let's do that. So it should be pretty much fully cured at this point. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put one more coat on real quick, and I'm going to show you what I So this, a lot of times, and this is just personal, the way I do things kind of thing. I'll put one coat on and I'm going to let it dry without using any accelerators or anything like that. I'm noticing there's a couple spots where it's a little bit more dull. And so let's put one more coat on and I'll show you what I do. I use accelerator. I know a lot of people say that it doesn't work that well, but I think this is another thing where it depends on this is actually where it depends on the brand. Some accelerators are more aggressive, let's say, and they can make things kind of foam up and do stuff. And this mercury stuff, the accelerator is kind of tame. It's on the tame end, and it doesn't tend to do that and I really with any CA glue. So let's get this guy going again. I'm going to just put a little dab on there, and I'm just going to come in here and put a little coat on real quick, and then I'm going to hit it with accelerator, and I'm going to do this going forward. I like to let that first coat kind of, soak in, let's say, and cure on its own, give it a good base. And then from there on out, you put on a coat and you hit it with the accelerator, wait a couple seconds till it's, not sticky anymore. I usually use the back of my finger to kind of tell. And, it's already dry. And so I can put another coat on, and I would just go up through the coats at that point for pens or, whatever I'm turning. But at this point, we are good to go. So let's put it on the stopper piece. Got a little bit of dust on the bottom. I'm gonna kind of blow that off, and then do like so. Okay, and see how this thing turned out. So I did a pretty good job of getting it. It's maybe a little bit, I don't know. Yeah, it's dead on. There was a shadow, a glossy shadow. I got this thing dead on with the stopper piece itself. And we got
that
a little
looks
bit
fantastic.
Put a little. One thing that I like is I've seen some people, they actually make a shot glass out of their stopper. I realize that taking a shot of wine is kind of not the point, but you can make a little shot glass out of it, and I don't know that I'd recommend drinking out of it, but not too bad.
Yeah, I'm glad you discovered those and started playing with them.
Yeah. Well, and I told you, Bradley, I was using another product from someone else, and it was sort of faux stone. But it really didn't look that close to like actual rock. And when I saw the spin gems on your site, I was like, oh man, I got to get some of those and try it out. I was kind of at the point where I wasn't going to continue making making blanks out of the ones that I was using. And so we gave it a shot. Finally, I finally got things going, and man, I was like, wow, this stuff looks great. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the little bottle stopper. It was fun to turn that thing. I haven't turned a stopper for a while now. We've been working on different random kind of stuff, pens and larger blanks lately. So it's fun
Zach,
to get
I really
that thing
appreciate
done.
you coming out here and hanging out and getting up early. I know I asked a lot of you to get up early on your schedule out there on the West Coast.
Yeah, well, you owe me one. No, I'm just kidding. It was my pleasure to come out.
It's always great to have you here. And this is, like I say, 3 years in a row you've joined us. Really appreciate the support immensely. Yeah. I can't say that enough.
Well, you're a good guy. What can I say?
And
I feel like I owe it to you just because you're such a nice guy.
Here's what I'm going to give him a shot of what I'm going to play with here.
Nice.
So this is the leftovers from the other day. And that's got some spin gems in the bottom and all that.
Very cool.
It's mostly an experiment. I do a lot of experimenting.
That's the fun part. Yeah. I'm telling you, that's the one thing that I tell people that want to get into resin casting to kind of take it a little bit slow when like the first time, because a lot of people, it's actually kind of surprising to me. Some people like they do the biggest, most difficult pour for like the first thing they've ever done. And I say, you're just kind of bound to fail. Like it's going to be disappointing and costly if you do that. So, take baby steps for a little bit until you get used to the resin. And then once you're used to it, then experiment and fail. This is another thing. Experiment and fail often, because you learn the most from failures. And when you're really experimenting and putting it to the test, let's say, either your skills or the resin or whatever, you learn the most and gain the most, experience that way, rather than just playing it safe and doing the same thing over and over again. One of the things that I've said is a lot of time, one of the hardest things with resin is if you have a very specific thing in mind that you want to achieve, it's kind of tough to get, exactly what was in your brain to come out. And so a lot of times what happens is, you may not get results that you really thought you were, or, results that you wanted. It may be a complete quote unquote failure in a sense, but you may learn a technique out of a failure that you would have never thought of. And you kind of just stumbled upon how to do this, technique or look. And so, I always just say experiment and fail often, and then just do it again. You'll have the best time, I think, doing it that way.
Yeah, I mean, here's a perfect example. So last week when I cast this red, white, and blue piece, and I've been using the Spiracraft resin since they started bringing it out, and I've used it over and over. No, I don't know how many gallons I've gone through, and I always have 2 hours to work with it. Well, I cast this up, or I poured up the resin, set my timer for an hour and a half, so I'd be on time. I came out at an hour, and I had it in the mold, and the top, this portion here that is now the multicolor, not the spin gems, that had already gelled to solid in an hour because it was so hot that day. And so I just grabbed the whole top plug out and mixed up another batch real quick and made this, and was able to save it. I didn't lose the whole piece. So, sometimes things don't always go the way you want. You just have to react real quick. And that's just the way it is. Even if you think you know this stuff real well, and I know you've been doing it for a long time, and still every once in a while you'll have something will go awry on you. I think that's just kind of the nature of the way it is.
Yeah. A lot of people think that I don't ever have problems, or I don't know. And the truth is, I do all the time, especially even just with the blanks the pen blanks that I make over and over and over again. I get batches that I just throw out, and in that case, it's not even really much of a learning experience.
Yeah,
like, dang it, I messed this up, so that still happens too. But when we're doing stuff on the stream and playing with weird materials or whatever, I mean, and I think it I don't know, I think it gives a pretty accurate view, those live streams of like how things go, because sometimes I just have to say, well, that didn't work, so I gotta shift on the fly basically, because I either screwed something up or it wasn't working the way I wanted, and I just say, okay, well, we're gonna do this now because the resin's setting up, so it's just how it works.
Yeah, for me, this is just like being at the woodworking shows, except that people can't come up and ask me a question afterwards. Because it's live, it's right there. Things go wrong, and you have to react, which makes it. I mean, I really love the challenge of doing it this way, and it's not edited. We do our videos that we edit, but live stream is a live stream, and if we don't cut it out, you get to see the reality of what's really going on that happens to everybody. And I think that's a great learning experience that we give them.
Yeah. I know a lot of people don't have time to sit through. A lot of my streams go a few hours, but I'll tell you what, the people that do have time and are looking to get into resin casting, you see the whole process. A lot of times edited videos, you're kind of like, well, here's step 1, 2, 3, and you're just cutting through all the stuff. And it doesn't really show, everything. It's just the little minor details are not, you can't include that in a 10 or 15-minute video. So it's pretty fun. I like the live streams. They seem to, they work good for me.
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, I have a ball out here. I know I don't get out in the shop in the studio enough anymore. So when I come out for my Monday methods, that's my 2 hours of turning and being creative and having fun, away from the computer in the office and the online store. So I have a ball, and I try and share that enthusiasm and the fun that I'm having out here with everybody else.
Yeah. Well, and that's a lot of, I actually utilize YouTube for doing the fun part of my job. The main part is me making pen blanks and stocking the store up, and promoting those things. And frankly, if I didn't have YouTube to make videos for projects and all that stuff, I probably wouldn't really turn. I mean, it got to a point about 5 or 6 years ago when I started really getting into the pen blank business. All I was doing was making pen blanks for sale, and it was boring.
Sure.
I'm like, okay, and I was doing some experimenting on my own when I first started out, and I thought, I can make videos experimenting. I'm doing it anyway, so why not make a video of it? And then I really love, making projects. That's what gives me, this is the hobby side, the turning. So I always kind of try to make sure people know, I'm basically just a hobbyist turner that does this stuff in his spare time, in a sense. But that's my fun, I guess, is the turning, and I utilize YouTube to kind of, in a sense, force myself to get time, to block out time so I can have some fun,
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to jump onto this little experimental magic piece here just to, I'm not going all the way through the process. I just want to see what this thing has got in it. So cool. Zach, I'm gonna turn you loose and say thank you so much. Please hang around to the end of the giveaways. You can answer questions in the comment columns there if you want to jump in. Again, I appreciate it so much that you come in and joining me today. It means the world.
My pleasure, man.
All right. Well, let me get my stool out of the way here. And this piece is, again, I'm going to go here to the end shot. This was when I was pouring something the other day. I had excess resin left over. And so I just grabbed a big bucket, one of the gallon buckets, and tossed in the end of my spin gems that I had left. And then if you saw Monday Methods, you saw me pour this excess. Oh, it's when I was making, I don't know where all my pieces went these days. It was when I was pouring this guy. I was pouring the fluorescent spin gem bowl, and now we know how much the settling is, but it looks like about 10%. So this was the resin that I had left over from pouring this piece, which this pour came out perfect and it's ready to turn. It's good to go. So I poured off the excess because I had mixed a little long, and the spin gems went right to the bottom because they're heavier than their specific gravity is heavier than that of the resin. Stuck my arm in there. So they went right to the bottom, and I knew they would go to the bottom. And then I just threw some extra colors in, and then I threw in, I got this iridescent film that we're bringing out. So I cut a bunch of that up with scissors, and that's all in there. And all I want to do is, while Zach was turning earlier, I turned off my mic, and I went ahead and I made a 10 in here, and I just, so that I could grip this, we don't have to go through it. Now this thing isn't flat, and I wanted it to be just like a plates or something that are actually pretty hard to turn because they're thin. So I'm just going to get this flat, and I've got it in the Easy Wood, Big Easy Jaws. I just need to get this flat, and then we'll put it in the chuck, turn it around. I just want to see what this resin looks like, but it'll also show you, what goes on in a piece. And this isn't dead flat because the California Air pressure pot that I had it in, I had it sitting over there crooked, and so it poured off to one side. Like if I go overhead on this, you'll see that this thing is thin on this side and thick on this side, which gives you the best view with that underneath or there. Okay. So I've already made a tenon, but I'm going to just turn this into flat. So any questions you guys have, holler at me. I can see right in front of me. I've got a big monitor right here that has all the comments. So if you've got a question while I'm doing this, just, pop it in there and I'll see it. Again, I'm not going to try and finish a piece like Zac did. I mean, that was a fantastic job that Zac did. Oh, and I got one other thing that I forgot to say because it's 1:37. This is a special for those of you who are hanging around today. This is unwritten, unadvertised, unmarked. And I brought this out. I have a box of Spiracraft aniline dye markers. I have red, blue. Oh, let's see. It should be red, blue, and yellow. I got blood red, cobalt blue, violet, brown. That's a mixed bag. Excuse me. And yellow. So I got red, blue, and yellow. And I don't know how many of these I have. But since you're here today and you're hanging out with us and helping us celebrate, if you will email marker in the subject to info@Spiracraft and your name and address, I will send you 3 markers, a red, a blue, and a yellow, just for hanging out and supporting us today. That's all you got to do is go to the email to info@spiracraft.com, put in the subject line marker, and put in your name and address so I can put them in an envelope and mail them to you. And until I run out, I will mail them to however many people ask. Once they're gone, they're gone. I make no guarantees how many people will get them, but there's quite a few in here. All right. So happy to do it. I did it last year, I think, and the year before, not the year before. So go through that. If you want to get some not iridescent, but some aniline dye markers, they're great markers for doing work on your wood. They will actually work on resin too. So that's a little extra freebie there for you guys. Okay, so I'm pretty well set to roll here. And because I've already made my tenon, I think, because I don't want to have this jump out of the bowl jaws on me, I'm going to throw my tailstock up here. Just because I want to be fairly aggressive and just kind of get this guy flat. And the biggest thing is I'm hoping you'll see the transition of colors that it will go through as we go through the different layers. And you'll be watching it from that view right there. And this is just a urethane rubber chucky that's up on here. And I have a fresh CI3, although actually, yeah, I'm gonna use CI3 NR negative rake. I have a fresh one in my tool. And we're just gonna flatten this guy out and see what happens. And so I'll come through and stop on and off because I'm just kind of curious. And then I want to turn it around and turn the top flat and see. It may be the ugliest thing I've ever cast just because it was excess resin. It may have some kind of cool factor to it. I hate to waste any of the resin when I do these things, whenever I'm casting something. All right, I think I'm pretty well ready to roll. Now, I can't really turn safely. I shouldn't over 800 RPMs in these jaws. So it'll be a little slow and a little clunky. And it might look a little weird when we turn it on. We'll see how the cameras do through Zoom. Normally, I'm not going. Zoom's only giving you 720 as opposed to our 1080 that we normally run at. So I'm going to start out here on the outside. And I'm going to get really messy on this one. And I'll jump to the overhead as well so you can see what it looks like from the overhead. Back to the end, let's see what that looks like when we stop. So you can see how we're cutting. This is how much it's out of whack, cutting there, and there'll be no spin gems in this, I'm certain, by the time we get to, except for maybe right in here. But I'm leaning on this pretty hard. Take a look at it and see what that looks like, what we're coming into. So we're starting to see some of the other components. We're losing our fluorescent spin gems, and I was pretty sure we would, but we're starting to see some of the other components come in here, some of the other colors, and hopefully this iridescent film. And I'm going to move my tool rest in a little bit closer. Now I'm almost up to the bumpers. So what I'll do is make sure that I don't touch the bumpers, but I get away from my tenon here, and then I'll just have to reach in behind the chuck. And I don't have a real big tenon on here because this thing's not very thick. Okay, so I'm going to pop the tailstock away. And come in here a little bit closer on that tenon. And I'm going to make it a little bit, I'm going to raise that tool rest up now that I'm in there. So I can see now some of this iridescent film that I'm talking about starting to show up. It'd be nice to have that, I could leave that little fluorescent spin gems, because we had the spin gems and fluorescence as a base. That'd be kind of a cool thing to do. So this is just a R2 slightly radius square cutter. And what I want to do is just give myself a little more length on my tenon here now. And this also gives me a nice smooth cut. This is what I was talking about to Zach. When I come across here, I get a nice smooth finish now, okay? And I'm going to finish this off with the detail tool, just to make the rest of my tenon and flatten out my shoulder. Okay, so I'm going to turn that around. Take my mask off here for a second. We'll go ahead and get this turned around because it's not going to be real thick. And again, I'm just kind of curious to see what these colors look like. Now, you see how I'm getting the chips all over me. One of the things that we're giving away today is a Spiracraft. We call them wrappers, the wrapper jacket, the turning jacket. This is looking cool. I don't know if you can see any of that reflection in there. These things work great for keeping it clean. I'm going to change my jaws out with the quick change jaws. I really appreciate everybody hanging with us today. We were what time? About 10 to 2, and say we'll do this real quick. And 2 o'clock, I'll go down the list of all the folks who won our wonderful door prizes today. Again, I encourage you, if you haven't registered for the codes, the discount codes yet, jump in spiracraft.com, go to events, go to anniversary celebration, click on that. It'll open up a screen. And all you do is just fill in your name, email, and you'll get a couple of automated emails that come out to you that will give you the codes, and you can go shopping. And again, that's good through Sunday, the discount codes. So don't hesitate to share in the savings this weekend. You know what I'm spending my 4th of July weekend doing? Taxes. Everybody's favorite. No minute like the last. Okay, so that fits in there pretty well. Now the top is pretty flat. What am I on? I'm on here. So I'll show you the overhead, and you can see that the top is pretty true. All right, it's not too bad at all. Now there won't be a whole lot left to this, and this will start to flex. So there's what our face looks like right there. And just until I'm sure about this, I'm going to bring tailstock back up. I think I just reached in front of y'all. Bring tailstock back up just to keep tabs on this guy while I get it trued up, because I want to put a shape to the back. I'm going to shape this around. So I want my tailstock back up just to be safe. Last thing I want to do is have this come flying off. Just to get a little extra added security. And I'm going to put a profile on the back of this right up to this front edge. I'll turn the front edge ever so slightly just to make it flat, and then I'll know exactly where the flat top, the true top edge is. Okay. And so we are in the overhead for you guys. I love this stuff. I just have so much fun. All right, everything's good. Now I'm going to turn my speed up also. I'll go up about 1,000 RPMs. Okay. And this top looks real true, but I'm going to go ahead and true it up anyway. Just a little bit. Show you what that looks like. It's truing his face up so I know where the top really is. Okay. All right, now let's go around to the back. So I'm just going to basically take this edge and make it blend with the best I can back here in the back. All right. And again, I'm going to move pretty quick. So I get the top true right there. And then I just start coming on around. Getting nice streamers today. So you can see how we're just starting to roll that curve around. You want to know what it looks like from my side of the world? Is what it looks like on my left-hand side. Everybody always gets a kick out of that. I got streamers all up in the cameras. We're celebrating. We got confetti hanging today. It is a celebration. How about that stuff? Okay, let's go back to our overhead. And I got a wedding train veil back here. Without the tailstock in place, I'm sure I'd be getting even more vibration on this. This will be a fun, quick little piece here. And I think I'll still be ready by 2 o'clock. So even though this was the excess resin from a project, this stuff is, I got a bunch of this on me back here. You can't see me fighting this, trying to get it off of me. I got this stuff everywhere. It's confetti day. I still get an interesting little piece out of this. It may not be the prettiest thing I've ever turned, but that's all right. I wish I had camera number 4 over here. But it will be fun if I can do it today. If I can get this thin enough that the light will pass through, then we'll be able to see our iridescent films. And what we'll do is when I change back to the front camera, when I come back over here, if I get this thin enough, you'll be able to see me reach my hand back here and see the light through my hand through it. I am making a big old mess. I mean, there's streamers all over the place. And I don't know what it looks like back here. I feel like I got a wedding train on, a veil. Let me go back to overhead one more time. I'm going to do a little bit more here in the back. And then we're going to jump around to the front. And then it'll be time to give away some door prizes. Some nice door prizes. So I was going really fast before. Now I'm slowing down, make my finish cuts because I don't want to have to sand like we were talking about. Sanding is not my favorite thing to do. I can see that the iridescent film starting to show. I'm going to get in here a little bit further. Of course, I don't want to hit the chuck. I don't have a lot of room, as you can see. So I'm going to have to switch tools over to the smaller round cutter, the CI5 on the micro. That'll let me reach in here between the piece and the chuck jaws. I've got about 1/8 of an inch in there. Because what I want to do is blend this all together. So I'm putting just a nice little profile on this, not anything heavy. I think I'm going to roll this outer edge over just a little bit more. Hope I didn't put my head in the way. I'm going to roll that edge right there. Take just a little, there we go. And then I'll grab the radius, the small radius cutter. It looks square. This stuff is really clingy today too. And I'm just going to clean up these round cuts. As far as I can. I'll have to do the rest when I turn it back around. I'll turn it around later and put it in the bowl jaws, the big easy jaws, because I won't be able to get all the way in there. But this way I don't have to get up against the bumpers. And that smooths that right up. All right, so now let's go have fun in the middle here, and let's see what happens. So we will go to the end camera to wrap this up. Now this is going to want to flex, and I know it. I know it going in. It's going to want to flex. There's no way around it because it's not very thick. If you're wondering, well, how thick is it? Say it's maybe a half an inch, not even 3/4. It's about 5/8. Which camera am I on? I'm on the end camera. So we'll try and make this inside curve match the backside outside curve. All right. Okay. I'm going to start with the big cutter, but I got a feeling that I'm going to end up with the smaller cutter if it's too much force on it. So we'll see what happens here. And with that urethane rubber chucky in here, I don't have to worry about hurting my cutter. So if I inadvertently touch that, it's not going to be an issue. So it's tricky, but you can put your finger back there for a little support. Your fingers get hot, but it helps stop it from vibrating quite so much. Tom, yes, there's about 4 of these face masks in the store. They should be in shop supplies. And there's a new version coming out that as soon as we can get it, that actually this same style, but it flips up. But we do have these in the store. I think they're about 25 bucks. They're not expensive. I love them. I drill a couple extra holes right where my breath comes out. And they work great. They're lightweight, they're comfortable. You can replace the lenses, though. I never have. These lenses are 4 years old in this one. I have a feeling because this resin isn't 100% super cured. Oh, probably reached in front of you, that I may be a little loose now, but I'm getting a little vibration there. It's pretty dark, so we may not be able to see through it after all. I was hoping we could. I mean, I could make it thin enough, but we don't want to spend that much time. So again, I've just got 2 fingers riding back on the back side, just trying to help give it a little bit of support. And I'm working this outside edge to the final thickness that I want to do, and it's 2 o'clock. So I'll go a little bit more and we'll stop. Let me switch over to see if that vibration changes with the smaller diameter cutter. It does lessen it. It's just less surface area touching, believe it or not. I don't think we can see. Can we see my fingers through there? Yeah, I can see through there just a little bit. I don't know if you can or not. I'll make a couple more passes for fun, and then I'll stop. I'll do this. I'll make this pretty thin. I mean, this is just a piece to play with. The reason I want it thin so the light will pass is because I've got that iridescent film in there, and I want to have some light bounce off of that and try and get some color. The resin itself is quite strong. See, that's why you have that rubber chucky there. So when you do that stupid thing and stick the tool over there, it doesn't hurt your cutter. So it's getting pretty hot. The piece of resin is getting hot because I've got it thin and the tool's making it quite warm, and it will actually start to get soft and flex. So I think I think we're going to stop right there because I made a mess and it's 2 o'clock. See if I can't come out of this. Again, I don't know how much is on the back of me. It looks like a whole bunch. You got to love your job. You got to love your job is all there is to it. Right? I have too much fun. Again, I certainly thank everybody for coming today. So they have it on the site. Sometimes they have it on the site under the shop supplies. Yes. I know I made a mess here. I'm going to pop some of this stuff out of the way. And we'll do our door prizes. And I hope you guys said pop me an email over there and said marker. And we'll send you the markers. I'm afraid to run this touch screen. It's got stuff stuck all over it. Get these tools out of the way real quick. I hope everybody's enjoyed today. Big thanks to Alex Snodgrass and Zac Higgins for joining us today. I really appreciate their time. I know those guys are busy. Got a lot going on, so it means the world to us. I'm a mess, but I'm not gonna worry about that. The folks come out and support us, and that all of you come out and support us. We really appreciate it. Okay, so it's dark enough, and I'm gonna go into the overhead, and you won't be able to see my finger through it, and this will probably go out of focus because I got that camera on manual. But when this is finished, I'll get it thinner, and you'll be able to see the iridescence. You can see these. There's some other color stripes in here as well. So it's got some nice swirl, and when it cleans up, when it gets polished, it's real thin and it's polished. Light will shine through that guy, and it will be pretty cool. All right. So that was just a fun little piece to play with. Oh, and it's still got spin gems on the bottom. How's that for a deal? Okay, good deals. All right, let's see. It's a mess in here, but do you guys mind if I grab a quick sip of soda out of my cup over there? I'll make it where you don't have to watch. I'll just do that for a second because I'm thirsty after that. So again, if you're here and you hear your name called on any of these door prizes, I will email you because we may not have your address in the system if you didn't put the address in, if you're new to Spiracraft. Or if we have a question, like say on the wrapper jacket, I wouldn't know what size to send you. On the Center Master, I wouldn't know which size you need for your faceplate. So we'll be getting all the winners of the door prizes today. We'll be getting an email from us. And it might be tomorrow morning before I get to it. It might be this afternoon, depends on if I need a nap or not. But we will be in touch real soon. So I got my pages here. Let's see. Did it front and back? Nope, just the fronts. So to do our prizes. So I don't have one here to show you. You probably saw it on because we're out, and it'll come right from the factory from Carter & Son Toolworks. The double-ended thread chaser they came out with last year. It's a Mike Mahoney designed thread chaser. Thing is fantastic. People that use it really love it. And we had them, and we're out. Imagine that. So that will get sent out to the lucky person, Larry Adams of Council Grove, Oklahoma. Mr. Larry Adams is the lucky winner of a Carter & Son Toolworks double-ended thread chaser. Fantastic tool. If you want to check it out, you can check it out in the store. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate you joining us. All right. Next on the list is a Robert Sorby Spindle Master, which I happen to have one of those here. This was a new tool to me at the woodworking shows this year. I was sponsored in the educational booth. The Spiracraft has the retail, and I myself, have been the woodworking educator at the woodworking shows for 10 years now. And sponsors come along, and Sorby stepped up this last year and sponsored. And one of the tools that they asked me to use was what's called a Spindle Master. This thing is pretty cool. It's real simple. Got one bevel on it. I call it the easy skew, if you will. You could do a lot of spindle work with this guy without having to have the skew knowledge and time spent. It's pretty quick and easy to learn. There's a 1/2 inch and a 3/4. Giving a 1/2 inch away today here, and it's got some little instructions in there along with it on how to use it. So if spindle work is not your strength, you'll be happy that you got this. If you're a skew master, I'm sure you will find a use for it nonetheless. And the Spindle Master is going out to Bradley Baker from Lubbock, Texas. Don't know if you're here, Mr. Baker, but we appreciate everything. It's always good to have people down in Texas. Well, we missed SWAT this year. I wish we had gone to SWAT. It's always a good one. Sorry that we didn't get to go. We'll be there next year. You can bet on that. Now from Chromacraft, I have a 1.5 quart epoxy resin kit. I also have 3 colors of resin tint, blue, yellow, and red, give you the primaries. I also have 3 pearl powders, and I think I grabbed, I grabbed satin white. I think I grabbed my favorites, satin white, pearl, and iridescent gold. And these are the pearl powders that you'll mix in with your resin, along with whatever color tint you need. And then we also have 3 spin gems. And this is the green turquoise. A lot of folks, Zach exposed a lot of folks recently to our spin gems. And we had the blue turquoise. We've also added now a green turquoise. And so I've included this in this kit, a green turquoise as opposed to blue. We have them both. A yellow. And again, a fire engine red, just keeping the 3 kind of primary base colors there for folks. So 1.5 quart kit of resin. This is the epoxy resin, Chromacraft epoxy resin, spin gems, resin tint, and pearl powder. So your complete kit, you can make a resin piece of whatever nature you so desire. With that kit, it is complete. All you need is some cups and a stir stick. And that goes out to Anthony Chiarello, Chiarello of Freehold, New Jersey. Thank you, Anthony. I think Anthony's been here on Monday Methods before, I'm pretty sure. So that's great. Anthony is lucky winner of resin casting. Fantastic deal. The next thing we have is an EasyWood Tools parting tool. And I would pull it out, but it's taped. It's probably taped in here. Well, I got one. I should have one right over here. Dummy. This one doesn't have a cutter in it, but the EasyWood Tools parting tool. Carbide cutter goes in the end. Fantastic parting tool. Easy to work with. With the carbide, you don't sharpen, so you don't have to have a grinding system and all that. So with the cutters, you just change out the cutter. You get a fresh one every time. Cutters last a long, long time. Let's see. And so the EasyWood tool, parting tool, goes to Connie Klein. Connie Klein, who does not have a city listed in her information. But Connie, congratulations on EasyWood Tools parting tool. All right. And down the list we go here. A wrapper turning jacket. Now, I happen to be wearing a red one, and I have a red one here I just brought out. And I probably shouldn't have brought that out. But we have, and I normally wear a black one when I'm out here turning. So we have red with black sleeves like I'm wearing. I'm not going to unfold that. That wouldn't be smart. And you have your choice of color and size. So when I email you, so we have the red and black and the black and red. These things are great. I will tell you, if you happen to be listening, that they run very large. So order at least one size smaller. At least one size smaller. So Maria, I'll be in touch. Or if you're listening, send me an email, but I'll be sending an email anyway. So you can choose your color, assuming, and I think I have all of them covered, but assuming give me the second option if you want red first or black first, and go by the body. But you'll really like it. It's comfortable. I mean, I'm out here in a room that even though it's air conditioned, I bet you it's every bit of 90 degrees in here. And I'm comfortable. They breathe under the arms, are vented and all that. So they're really nice. And the next we have a Starbond glue kit. I put together a Starbond glue kit because we carry Starbond, all their product. So I have 2-ounce bottles of thin, medium, thick, and black, the black medium, and a 6-ounce can of aerosol. I don't know if that's in focus or not over there, but the good Starbond is fantastic CA glue. Zach, I don't know what brand you use a lot, but been real happy with the Starbond product. So this is a full complement of what we carry of that will be going out to a Tony Schmidt. Mr. Tony Schmidt does not have a city listed, but Tony, thank you very much. We appreciate you signing up with us today. Support, we take all the support and we really appreciate it. And the last thing I have is and this goes to what Alex was showing earlier. This is a Center Master, and I probably, like I said, I was looking for mine the other day. If this opens up easy or not. This is what goes in your faceplate. Yeah, these aren't sealed like they are at the stores. This allows you to center your faceplate. Super easy. And this is a 1 inch. But there's a pin in there, and you put the pin right in the center. You thread that then into your faceplate. The pin drops into the center hole you drilled when you cut your blank. Or if you didn't cut it on the Center Master or Center Circle Cutter, still drill a hole in the center and measure from that. Gives you a good way to line up your faceplates. I used to kind of laugh at them, then I started using them. Been with Carter Products, and they've sponsored us at the shows, and I've been selling their product. And now, once I started using these things, it's been a number of years. I love the thing because I use their center cutting jig as well, and it's great. I don't know if my dad is still in here or not. My dad is my blank cutter. He cuts all my blanks on the bandsaw, and we got the hole drilled, and I just pop these in when I'm out on the road. Faceplate goes in, boom, you're right there. So this goes out to Tom Whalley, Whalley, of Urbandale, Iowa. So hopefully he needs one. Hopefully it doesn't have one. What's Zach saying? Oh, shoot, this is the first Friday and that snuck up on me. So anyway, a Carter Products, and a thank you again to Alex for demonstrating the Carter Products today. Carter Products Center Master, center finder for your blanks goes into your faceplate. It's a great little gig. I use mine all the time. Of course, I'm usually scrambling around trying to find it. And that is our door prizes for our 2nd anniversary, 2020. I'm so happy to be here and enjoying being in the business and teaching, educating, supplying products. I really do appreciate everybody's support that comes out and comes to see us at the woodworking shows. I haven't mentioned the woodworking shows today, not because I didn't want to, just because I've been busy thinking about other things. The woodworking shows is a real mainstay for a lot of us. I've been doing it for 10 years. Spiracraft started there last year, so we did 2 years. That's a great way to come see all of us, get education. The education is free. It's like $12 to attend the show for the weekend. We have our store set up. We have discounts there at the store. Nobody's going anywhere this year for the rest of this year in any kind of live mass gathering, as we all know. So look for that in 2021. Again, in 2021 on July 1st or thereabouts. Some years I haven't had it exactly on the 1st, but this year I decided to. Our 3rd anniversary, we'll be here again doing exactly the same thing. It's a tradition. I'm not going to stop doing it. I'm going to keep right on doing it. I appreciate it so much that folks came out today. I hope everybody picked up tips. Like I say, feel free, go to the store, shop, use those discount coupons, save some money. As always, if you have any kind of questions about anything, call us, email, however you want to get, pigeon, courier, message, it's all good. I'm here to answer your questions and to help you get what you need. So everybody, enjoy your 4th of July, Independence Day holiday weekend that's coming up. Everybody be safe, be careful. All right. And I will see you all next Monday on Monday Methods. Oh, and don't forget to go to the Spiracraft YouTube channel and subscribe and click for notifications, because all this that we do, and I do on 3 channels at a time, Facebook and YouTube, you'll always get a notification of what we're putting up. So don't forget about our YouTube channel. And everybody have a great day. Thank you so much. And I will see you around. Bye now.